Good morning. Good morning. Let us come to attention very softly, as if we were gathering a small flame in our hands and not wanting to blow it out with too much excitement. This is a very strange work we are about, and I wonder sometimes if it is some kind of a proving ground, or a testing ground, or perhaps just a quiet room where we can unlearn a few noisy habits. The world has been using the word seek for centuries. And yet, if you listen to the prayers, if you watch the movements, if you feel the anxieties, what we mostly do is not seeking at all. It is searching. We hunt. We scan the horizons. We look under conditions as if God were hiding behind Tuesday's mail or next month's report. And then we are disappointed because Tuesday comes and goes without an autograph. Now, if God is omnipresent, just pause on that, not as a doctrine, but as a possibility. If God is omnipresent, what could it mean to look for him as though he were missing, delayed, or traveling incognito? Wouldn't distance, then, be a mistake of direction rather than a deficit of God? I'm wondering, which one of us trained ourselves to move outward as if reality had fled the premises and left only appearances to negotiate with? You see, when we search, we move away from the center. When we seek, we consent to the center that is already here. Please let me reassure you at once. We are not forming a new belief, and we are not joining a new religious club. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We are only consenting to an immediacy, to a felt nearness. There is a quiet click. Some of you know it already. Some have brushed it in the night. That tiny, soundless yes, where the present seems nearer than your breathing and gentler than thought. Thinking won't make this so. Outlining it won't make it so. And yet, the instant we stop looking out there and turn, ever so slightly, within, something in us says, I was never absent. I would not ask you to take this on my word. We are not here to collect words like stamps and put them in an album called Truth. We will, before we are finished this morning, practice that turn so that it becomes recognizable, repeatable, almost embarrassingly simple. We will not be pretending. We will be consenting. We will not be changing conditions. We will be changing orientation. And then, if I am not fooling myself, and I often check to see who I'm kidding, the outer life will begin to reorder itself. Not because we learned a new trick, but because we stopped looking for the sun with a flashlight at noon. So, for now, let us agree on this much. If God is omnipresent, then any sense of distance can only be a compass error. We've been walking the wrong way on a very short path. Before long, we will stand still, turn, and see how near nearness is. And we will feel the click. Now these two little words, so alike on the tongue, are pointing in opposite directions. Searching is the outward motion of mind. It scans. It goes out across the landscape of circumstances and tries to read tea leaves in people, in headlines, in the bank book, in the mirror. It asks memories to testify on Monday, and it subpoenas the future to show up with better answers by Friday. It sends the senses on patrol. See if you can spot God in that condition, in that doctor's report, in that promotion, in that apology. And then, when the patrol returns with photographs, we spread them on the table and squint. Is he in there somewhere? That is searching. It is the sea of thought doing what seas do, rolling, splashing, reflecting skies and storms and making a great deal of noise, while we, poor souls, try to build a house on the waves. Seeking is something else entirely. Seeking is an inner orientation. It is not thinking harder or phrasing the sentence better. No, not at all. Seeking is a quiet yielding, a consent. It is the very gentle, almost embarrassed turn from effects to source, from the picture to that presence which is already here. Seeking is the laying down of the flashlight because the sun is up. Seeking does not reach out, it relaxes in. It doesn't say, "Come, God, quickly now." It says, without words if possible, "Here I am, Father." And then waits, not as a technique to make anything happen, but as a recognition that something is happening always, and we are merely ceasing to interfere. That is why, so often, the click is heard not in a sigh. Let me correct at once what the mind will try to do with this. It does not mean we stop living, or planning, or working, or paying the milkman. Oh, not at all. Not at all. It only means we stop trying to find God the way we find lost keys. You may still look for the keys under the cushion, please do, but do not look for God there. We keep our appointments, we return our calls, we write our letters, and if we must, we stand in line at the post office. The difference is this: plans become servants rather than masters. Work becomes expression rather than penance. We reorder the cart and the horse. We are not abandoning the world. We are withdrawing the world's credential to certify God for us. What are the fruits? Searching produces strain and delay because it assumes distance and then tries to close it by effort. It tires the body and heats the head and promises rest tomorrow. Seeking produces immediacy because it ceases to argue with omnipresence. It returns attention to what is already here, and in that return, there is relief. Like tuning a radio, the static is not fought, the dial is turned. The program was already in the room. We simply rose above the sea of thought until the signal stood out as itself. Then, quite without self-congratulation, the outer scene begins to rearrange, not by our push, but by the nature of illumination. Warmth appears when we step into the sunshine. We did not manufacture it. So if you catch yourself today, canvassing opinions, forecasting outcomes, collecting reports as if reality were hiding in the numbers, smile. Oh, you need a sense of humor for this. Stop, turn, and consent. Seek me only. Let that be the whisper. Searching tries to locate God. Seeking consents to God's presence. And in that consent, nearness is no longer a hope. It is a fact felt. Now, if seeking is consent, what is it that keeps us from consenting? It is this sea that we have all been swimming in so long we call it home. The sea of thought. By thought, I mean not merely clever ideas or religious phrases, but the whole field of that which can be seen, heard, tasted, touched, and smelled. The photographs and sounds, the tastes and textures, plus all the commentary the mind supplies, the memories replayed with fresh costumes, the anticipations edited and spliced into little moving pictures. It is the weather of mind, clouds of notion, winds of worry, bright spells of enthusiasm, ever changing, ever reporting. It seems vast, it looks authoritative, and the most subtle thing about it is that it can put on a prayer robe and pretend to be spiritual. Have you noticed this? We can repeat words about God until our mouths grow wise and our hearts remain empty. We can collect exquisite concepts the way some collect stamps, and every new idea feels like a rare issue. We can compare teachers the way gourmets compare sauces. This one has more zest, and never once taste the substance itself. We can measure our progress. Oh, we are very good with rulers. 2 meditations today, 5 insights last week, 1 miracle pending tomorrow. And then we fold the report and present it at the altar, as if God needed our statistics. Is it possible that much of our religious activity is still searching inside thought? Am I trying to reach God, or am I trying to improve my feelings about my problems? Am I attempting to contact presence, or am I attempting to manage effects, adjust moods, rearrange symptoms, secure outcomes? Let us correct a fear at once. To rise above the sea of thought does not mean to become stupid, blank, or indifferent. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We use mind as we use a fine instrument, to add a column of figures, to remember an appointment, to write a letter, to tell the garbage man where the cans are. Mind serves beautifully as an instrument. The mistake is taking the instrument for the musician, the spray for the ocean, the picture for the presence. Thinking won't make this so any more than staring at a thermometer will produce spring. To arrive above the sea of thought is to arrive in divine consciousness. Not a trance, not a mood, but an actual awareness, an actual feeling of God's presence. It is as if, for a half instant, the waves keep rolling, but our attention is not on the waves. It settles into the depth. Words may begin the turn, "Seek me only," or "Here I am, Father." But the words are not the contact. They are only a finger pointing. The contact is that quiet, wordless click in which we are no longer trying to persuade God or improve appearances. We are consenting to presence. Awareness, not thought, is the channel. Do you see how easily we confuse them? We read about the click and then set out to engineer one. We convert "seek me only" into a slogan and chant it until the wallpaper shakes. And then we ask, where is the warmth? That is still searching. That is still the sea doing what seas do. Seeking, true seeking, lets the phrase do its work and then lets it go, like a boatman who uses the oar to push away from the shore and then pulls it in. When we confuse thought with communion, we keep searching and call it seeking. So, be gentle with yourself and firm with the impostor. When you catch the mind arranging its prayer beads, comparing, timing, judging, smile. You need a sense of humor for this, and turn. Not to a better sentence, not to a brighter picture, but to the living presence that is never more than an instant away. The waves will still be waves. The reports will still report. But you will discover that awareness is the field in which they appear and disappear. And in that discovery, the compulsion to manage effects gives way to the simplicity of communion. Where God is, I am. And in that I, not personal, but presence, the sea grows quiet without our policing it. Now this is the point on which the whole road turns. And it is so slight, so undramatic, that the mind is disappointed. The picture is anything that puts its hand on your sleeve and says, "Fix me first." Illness does this. Lack does this. Conflict does this. Guilt does it with exquisite artistry, and spiritual ambition does it with a very bright smile. Fix me, polish me, present me. The picture always argues for priority, always promises that God will be near once this is handled. And here is the lie. The pivot is the refusal to worship the picture, not the refusal to notice it. So the moment the mind rushes out, have you noticed how fast it runs? We turn. We do not kick the picture. We do not flatter it. We do not enter a debate. We simply, gently turn. Not to a better picture, not to a technique, but to presence. It doesn't mean we pretend the world isn't there. It doesn't mean we become impractical. It doesn't mean we stop helping, calling the doctor, paying the bill, or apologizing when apology is due. Oh, not at all. Not at all. It means we stop taking appearances as the place where God is found. We let the waves be waves, and we seat awareness in the depth. This is not an act of violence upon the mind. We are not wrestling an alligator. We are changing orientation. Like turning from the mirror to the face, from the photograph to the person, from the thought about to the presence of. The sentence that helps may be as simple as, "Seek me only," or, "Here I am, Father." And then drop the sentence. Let it do its one job of pointing, then let it go. The point is not to control the picture. The point is to cease consenting to it as authority. What shows up as a signpost? A quieting, a softness, sometimes a faint looseness in the chest, sometimes a sense that the room grew wider by an inch. Not emotion necessarily, not a thrill, not a goose-flesh religion. A subtle click of inward assurance, like the latch settling when the door is actually shut. The picture may still be talking. Let it talk. Your awareness is no longer hiring it as foreman. Please understand, this is not passivity. The pivot frees action from fear. When the phone must be answered, you answer it. When the letter must be written, you write it. When the medicine must be taken, you take it. But the compulsion to make the picture yield God is gone. The sun does not have to be dragged into the room. The shade is drawn up, and the light is found to have been there all along. Try this a dozen times today. 100 if you like. Each time the picture shouts, smile. You need a sense of humor for this. And turn. Half instant. No drama. Let us take a very simple object lesson. Because sometimes the mind needs to see with its eyes what the heart already knows. If there were a tumbler here, clear, plain, just glass, I would ask you to look at it and tell me, where does the inside leave off and where does the outside begin? Is there an inside glass and an outside glass? Are there two glasses facing each other across a line we can draw with a pencil? Or is there but glass? You can pour water inside and set it outside on the table, but you have not created two glasses. You have only changed the function, containing within, presenting without. There is but glass. Now let that tumbler speak a little sermon to us. Where does God leave off, and where do you begin? Is there a God inside you and another God outside you? Is there a spiritual self somewhere and a human self over here trying to catch it by the coattail? Or is there but God being, invisible as essence, visible as you and as me, and as every form and function of true life? God is our invisible selfhood. We are the externalized form. We are only two in function, not two in being. The secret of life is oneness. Do you see why searching feels necessary the moment we accept two-ness? If I imagine God over there and me over here, then I must travel. I must improve, persuade, bargain, and eventually arrive, late and tired. But if I recognize oneness, I cannot travel to what already is the substance of my being. I can only awaken to it. I can only stop assuming a boundary and consent to presence. And that is why seeking, true seeking, becomes immediate. It is not a march across a desert. It is the half-instant turn above the sea of thought into the felt fact of omnipresence. The click is nothing added. It is the recognition of what never left. Now the mind gets uneasy here and whispers, well, if there is only God, what happens to me? Do I become a dreary mist, a gray nobody? Oh, not at all, not at all. Oneness does not erase individuality, it redeems it. The person becomes the transparency for the presence, as a window becomes valuable not for its stains, but for its clarity. Two in function, not two in being. The violin does not disappear because the musician plays it. It fulfills itself. So with you. Your gifts, your humor, your way with figures or flowers, none of this is lost. It is cleansed of the burden of self-origin and shines with its rightful ease. So the next time God seems far, pick up the nearest glass, or the coffee cup if you must, and ask quietly, where does the inside leave off, and where does the outside begin? Let the object preach to the thought. Then turn. Seek me only. Not to invent a feeling, but to drop a boundary. Let the little sentence do its work, and then let it go. Consent. If there is but glass, then there is but God being. Here as essence, here as expression. Where God is, I am. And in that I, not personal, but presence, the need to search dissolves, and seeking stands revealed as the simplest fact of awareness. Let us be very simple now, because prayer is where we have done our most elaborate gymnastics. If there is but God being, and if our life is that expression in form, what then have we been doing with prayer that sounds like a weather report and a shopping list? I catch myself sometimes beginning a very dignified petition. Father, you surely see the situation here. And halfway through, I wonder who I'm kidding. Am I informing God as if omniscience were out of town? Am I trying to persuade God as if love had to be talked into loving? Am I hurrying God along, tapping my foot like a man at a bus stop? You need a sense of humor for this, because when that old habit rises up with a serious face, the only merciful answer is a smile and a turn. Seek me only. Now please hear this as instruction, not as a slogan. Seek me only is the one prayer that never misses because it points attention to presence rather than to effects. We do not repeat it as a charm. We let it aim us. Here I am, Father. And then we rise, if but for a breath, above the sea of thought. We stop fiddling with the picture and consent to the living presence that is already here. Thinking won't make this so. Words can only carry us to the door. The door is that quiet click of awareness in which the urge to manage appearances falls away, and we know, without sentence or argument, God is on the field. The analogy is as ordinary as your porch. You can't ask the sun to shine. You can't petition for warmth or outline a tan. But you can bring yourself into that sunshine. And when you do not get warmth one day and a tan next week by merit. You have them by association, automatically, inevitably. The qualities travel with the source. In precisely that way, the fruits for which we have been praying, guidance, supply, harmony, forgiveness, peace, come with presence. We do not order them à la carte. We seek the one, and all these are added. Let me correct a misunderstanding quickly. This does not mean we become passive, neglectful, or mystical beggars waiting for envelopes to float through the window. Oh, not at all. Not at all. It means that action proceeds from center rather than from fear. You may still make the call, sign the paper, see the doctor, apologize, do the books. But you do it as transparency, not as a desperate little god trying to move mountains with a teaspoon. The pivot is inward. the conduct becomes natural, unforced, appropriate, surprisingly timely. And so, we stop praying for effects. We do not ask for money. We do not ask for health. We do not ask for the world to behave. To do so is to slip the bridle over God's head and say, "This way, please. Get thee behind me, Satan." The prayer now becomes the realization that where God is, I am. And in that I, not personal, but presence, the right form appears, because the source is present. The presence of God is the insurance policy. Never pray for anything at all except a deeper awareness of God's presence. Seek me only. Rest in that until the click is felt, and then go about the day. Effects follow the source, as surely as warmth follows the sun. If presence is this immediate, why then does it sometimes seem to stand a little way off and wave to us from across the street? Surely omnipresence cannot be having travel difficulties. No, the distance is not in God. It is in a center we are mistakenly occupying. The subtle culprit is this personal sense of I, this my life, my problem, my healing, my spirituality, which quietly moves itself to the center of the map and puts God out at the edges as a very fine consultant. The moment there is there is distance. The instant I take possession, my supply, my wisdom, my strength, I have made two where there is but one. And two must always negotiate time, space, and terms. Let us be very clear by negation, because the mind needs this help. There is no my supply. There is supply, God appearing as form. There is no my wisdom. There is wisdom, God revealing as insight and right action. There is no my strength. There is strength, God as the very life of this embodiment. There is no my love. There is love, God as the tenderness that uses this heart and these hands. There is no my spirituality. There is spirit expressing. The moment the my vanishes, nearness ceases to be a hope and becomes fact, because oneness is no longer being argued with. Do you see how the ego turns seeking into searching? It wants a result to validate itself, a ribbon to pin to its jacket. Proved God at 9:17 a.m., 2 minutes flat. It measures distance and time like a man at a train platform. How long until I feel something? Why don't I feel more? Where is my click? This is still the sea of thought with a prayer shawl on. Seeking does not clock God. Seeking consents to presence and forgets to ask for a receipt. Now, before we become frightened that we must go to war with our personality, let me reassure you. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We are not asked to destroy a self by force. We are invited to die daily to a false center until the true center is felt as our being. Deny thyself does not mean become a gray nobody. It means let go of authorship and ownership. Let go of my, and discover that individuality shines brighter when it is transparent. The violin is more itself, not less, when the musician plays it. How do we die daily? Gently. Each time the I steps forward, my decision, my danger, my demonstration. Smile. You need a sense of humor for this. And give it back. Father, thou art the life. Seek me only. Turn half an instant above thought and feel for the click. Not to manufacture it, but to recognize it. Let "get thee behind me" be said to that little manager who times God and invoices results. Where God is, I am. Not personal, but presence. The nearness that seemed far was only the shadow of my. When the shadow is not believed, distance collapses, and what remains is the simple fact. God as the very being that is looking out these eyes, loving through this heart, acting as this day. Let us, just for a few minutes, be still. Not making a performance out of it, no spiritual posture for the camera. Simply sit as you are. If an adjustment wants to happen, shoulders softening, breath loosening, let it happen. If not, let that be fine too. We are not trying to add anything. We are consenting to what already is. Now, notice the outward impulse, how quickly the mind offers a picture to fix, an errand to run, a memory to edit, a future to prearrange. Smile at it. You need a sense of humor for this. And let it pass by without taking it up. We are not going out with the patrol today. We are rising above the sea of thought by not climbing onto every wave. Let the waves roll. Awareness is here before the wave and after it. Quietly, inwardly, without moving a lip, let the heart say, "Here I am, Father," or simply, "Seek me only." One sentence is enough. Let it point you, then let it rest. Do not keep poking it like a doorbell. We are not calling anyone from across town. We are consenting to omnipresence. Thinking won't make this so. Words begin the turn, and then we wait. Not as a technique to change anything, but as a recognition that presence is already the fact. If a to-do list floats through, let it float. If a worry scowls for attention, let it scowl without hiring it as your foreman. If a noble religious thought shows up wearing a halo, let it bow and pass as well. Rest as the one who notices, not as the one who chases. Like tuning a radio, you are not fighting static. You are turning the dial until the signal stands out as itself. The signal did not start because you tuned. You merely ceased to value noise. Now some of you will feel at once a softening, perhaps a small wideness in the room, a hush under the thoughts. Some will feel nothing at all but the ordinary beat of breath. Some may feel resistance, fidgets, commentary, a little judge with a clipboard. Oh, not at all. Not at all. None of this is failure. The practice is not producing a sensation. The practice is returning, again and again, to consent. Even 3 seconds of non-striving is communion, because in those 3 seconds, the personal manager stepped back and presence stood unargued. Stay with it another moment. No push, no timing. If there is any signature to notice, it is this: a quiet yes without words. A sense that you are not at the edge looking in, but somehow, without moving, already home. The latch settles. The door is shut. That is all. Do not rate it. Do not ask for more. The click is not manufactured. It is recognized the instant searching rests and seeking consents. Now, without breaking anything, let your eyes open as they wish, or remain half-closed if that is easier, and carry nothing but this. The half-instant turn is always available. When the next picture waves its arms, smile, turn, and rest. Seek me only. Where God is, I am. Not personal, but presence. And in that I, the day will proceed on different terms, not because we forced it, but because we remembered home before we went anywhere. Before we go farther, let us clear away a few very natural misreads because they creep in on little cat feet, and before we know it, the whole house smells of them. First, escapism. Does this turning within mean we are avoiding life, hiding from duties, neglecting the very people who look to us? Oh, not at all. Not at all. The inward turn is not an exit. It is an entrance to the only room where wisdom and love are intact. We do not crawl into a cave and abandon the phone, the books, the kitchen sink. We answer the phone as presence. We balance the books as presence. We wash the dishes with presence running through the hands. Turning within doesn't abandon the world. It ends the world's power to dictate your awareness of God. Then you meet the world from center. And meeting the world from center is the only way it is ever rightly met. Second, passivity. Does this seeking make us quiet little cushions on which events sit down and leave their impressions? No. No. The moment we rise above the sea of thought, action is purified, not removed. Reaction is fear rush. Response is guidance. Outwardly, the same things may be done. Call the doctor, hire the plumber, apologize to the child, sign the contract. But the doer is no longer a nervous little god with a stopwatch. The doer is transparency. Willpower stops straining. Direction appears. Sometimes the response is a firm no. Sometimes a tender yes. Sometimes a simple not now. And you will be surprised at the authority that accompanies even a very soft word when it issues from presence rather than panic. Third, pretending. Are we denying the human scene? Painting happy faces on difficult facts, sprinkling glitter over a broken chair. You need a sense of humor for this. Pretending is what we have already been doing, believing that a picture on the wave is the depth. Seeking does not deny appearances. It denies their authority to define reality, supply, health, or identity. We can read the report without enthroning it. We can look at the bill and not give it power to indict God. We are not required to say, "There is no problem," as if slogans could remodel the house. We say, "Seek me only," and we turn. We let the fact of presence establish what is real, and from that realized presence, the next true step is seen and taken. Here is a simple test, and it is very practical. When inner contact is made, even faintly, you will notice less compulsion, less fear, less outline. The urge to hurry quiets. The mouth closes around an argument that was halfway out. The hands move to the one necessary thing without the long committee meeting. And there is more clarity about the next right step, only the next one, not the whole staircase outlined with colored lights. If the next step is to wait, waiting is alive and unanxious. If it is to act, action is clean, timely, and oddly effortless. Where God is, I am. Not personal, but presence. In that I, the world no longer shouts orders at you. It becomes the field in which love lives through you. Seek me only. Turn, consent, feel for the click, and then let the day proceed on these terms. Not escape, not passivity, not pretending. Communion, and the natural fruit of communion appearing as life rightly lived. When communion becomes the habit of the heart, it does not stay politely in the private room. It cannot. What is realized in consciousness is never boxed and labeled mine, because there is not a row of little private lives to possess it. There is one life, showing forth as many faces and hands. And so the quiet click within you is not a personal trophy. It radiates as a change in atmosphere wherever that one life appears to itself. which is everywhere. You may do nothing but sit in a bus with the latch settled, and the air around you is different by a degree that birds and children notice first. Blessing is not forced. It is the natural outbreath of realized oneness. This is what the old practitioners meant, in their better moments, by absent treatment. Not projecting thoughts like postcards to a far address. Not beaming suggestions at a person we wish improved. Oh, not at all. Not at all. It is resting without outline in the recognition of one presence, here and there, because there and here are the same field. In that recognition, no one is outside God, and therefore no one needs to be hauled in by our mental rope. We turn, seek me only, rise above the sea of thought, feel for the click, and we leave the person as person out of it. We do not carry a target into communion. You can test this for yourself without a trumpet. A mother came once with a jaw set for battle over her grown son's choices. "I have said everything," she said, which meant she had shouted her prayers across a chasm. We sat. No words about the son, no strategy. Only the turn. "Here I am, Father." And the quiet arrival where the judgment went out of the room. She left with nothing to do but keep consenting. A week later she reported, without fireworks, "We spoke for the first time without argument. I don't know how it happened. We just started over." Of course. The picture released its foreman. In the atmosphere of presence, compulsion loosens its grip, and the need to win dries up like a puddle in sun. Another day, a man faced a business meeting he dreaded. He had his ammunition ready, figures, talking points, a little spear of sarcasm for luck. He remembered at the door, "Smile. You need a sense of humor for this." And he put the spear down. Half an instant above thinking, the click. He walked in with no outline, but availability. Before he spoke a word, someone else changed the temperature. "I don't know why, but let's take this a different way today." Opportunities open the moment we stop pushing them with our shoulder. Please keep the proportion straight. We do not become wonder workers tossing lightning. We become less center, less noise, so that love has room to appear as patience, as timing, as a forgiveness that does not make a speech about itself, as a right word that arrives on time and then disappears. I of mine own self can do nothing. Where God is, I am. And in that I, not personal but presence, whatever is needed is already moving before we arrive with our bright ideas. So you do not fix people. You do not try to make them sober, honest, generous, kind. You rest where God is God, and you meet them there, if you meet them at all that day. And because there is one life, what is recognized in your quietness becomes possible in their listening, whether they are across the table or across the city. Conflicts soften without a victor. Habits lose their hypnotism without a lecture. The right door that was bolted yesterday is simply not bolted today, and no one files a miracle report. This is public fruit with no fingerprints on it. Seek me only. Let the latch settle. Let love do what love is. Let us make it simple enough to live with for 7 days. Not a stunt, not a penance, a kindness. For 7 days, we are going to train the pivot until it happens before the mind remembers to be clever. You need a sense of humor for this, because the personal manager will try to keep the clipboard. First, the no-I fast. For 7 days, notice each time I, me, or my rises to claim authorship or ownership. My problem. My decision. I must fix this. My brilliant idea. Smile and revise the center. Inwardly let it become, Father, Thou art the life here. Or, Presence is the wisdom acting. Or simply, this awareness is being lived. Out loud, do not become a grammatical acrobat. Oh, not at all. Not at all. We are not here to alarm the family by speaking in riddles. Outwardly, you may say, let's look at the numbers, while inwardly resting in, presence is supply. The practice is not about pronouns. It is about center. Each surrendered my is a small funeral for separation, and the sky clears a little. Second, the interruption cue. The instant you catch the outward hunt, doom-scrolling for hope, rehearsing fear, outlining 10 steps, polishing speeches for imaginary meetings, pause 10 seconds and turn. Inwardly, seek me only. Half an instant above thought. No fixing, no bargaining, no outlining. Just consent to omnipresence and wait those 10 seconds for the latch to settle. If you feel only the ordinary breath, that is fine. If the click is faint, fine. 10 seconds is enough to unseat a foreman. Do this 100 times a day if needed. We are training reflex, not staging a ceremony. Third, bookend the day. Never start and never finish a day without a few minutes of inner contact. Before coffee, before headlines, sit 3 to 5 minutes. Here I am, Father. No list, no requests. Rise above the sea of thought by not climbing onto it. Let the click appear or not. The willingness is the door. In the evening, before the pillow rehearses tomorrow, turn again. Let the day dissolve in presence. Where God is, I am. Not personal, but presence. Then sleep inside that. How will you know it is working? Not by medals, by intervals. The interval between fear and turn grows shorter. The recovery time after a stumble is quicker. The urge to outline loosens. The mouth stops mid-argument. Shoulders drop without orders. There are more moments of quiet assurance that need no witness and write no report. That is success. Not perfection, frequency. Not drama, stability. So for 7 days, carry 3 tokens in the heart. No eye fast. 10-second turn. Morning-evening contact. Seek me only. Let the habit of searching be interrupted so often it forgets its job description, and let seeking become the default atmosphere in which you move. Where God is, I am. And in that, I, not personal, but presence, the outer life reorders itself as naturally as a room brightens when the shade is raised. Now, to bring it all into one simple seeing. Searching assumes separation. The moment we imagine two, God over there and a little me over here, we must search. Separation fuels thought. Thought multiplies pictures, needs, dangers, forecasts, achievements, all asking for management. Pictures demand fixes, and there we are again, improving shadows with cleverness and worry. Seeking turns inward. The pivot is half an instant, from the picture to the presence, from the sea of thought to what is before thought. The inward turn reveals oneness, and oneness feels like nearness, because there is no gap to cross when there is only God being as essence and expression. The latch settles, the click is recognized, and our life proceeds from center. This is the whole of it, stated plainly, and it asks for no heroics. The prayer is the realization, not the speech, not the outline, the realization. Where God is, I am. Not as arrogance, not as a certificate on the wall, but as the truth of being, two only in function, never in life. Seek me only. Never pray for anything at all except a deeper awareness of God's presence. Thinking won't make this so. Consent reveals what already is. Please carry this reassurance with you like a small, warm stone in the pocket. If the click is faint, if it seems to come and go like a shy bird, are you failing? Oh, not at all. Not at all. The work is simply returning, 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 until returning is no longer an action, but an atmosphere. The intervals shorten. The foreman with the clipboard puts himself out of a job. The mouth closes at the edge of an argument and opens again as a blessing without trying to be nice. This is not performance, it is presence, proving itself as the ordinariness of your day. Let us be quiet together for just a brief moment. No effort, no technique. Inwardly, here I am, Father. Or simply, seek me only. Let the words point, and then let them rest. Rise, if but for a breath, above the sea of thought. Consent to omnipresence. If there is a soft yes without phrases, stay with it. If there is only breath, stay with that. The latch settles as it will. Where God is, I am. Not personal, but presence. And now, go lightly. Do not measure. Do not time God. Smile when the picture waves to be fixed and turn. 10 seconds are enough to remember home. Bookend your days and let the habit of searching retire for lack of work. God was never far. Nearness was never a distance problem. It was an awareness problem. The instant you stop looking elsewhere and consent within, God is on the field, and the outer life finds its rightful order as naturally as a room brightens when the shade is raised. Seek me only. Where God is, I am. And in that I, not personal, but presence, love, lives your day.